All right. Hello and welcome, Just a Family. This is giving you something to talk about, or Just a Live TV, as I like to call it. We are coming to you a little bit later today. And why not? Today is one of those days we're just going to have fun with it. So we're a little bit later. We both actually had something come up. Maybe it's because both of our names are Melissa, but we both had something come up and we had to postpone for about half an hour. So we're here now. We're going to be talking about should you get divorced, which is an epic episode. I told my husband about it yesterday and he's like, oh, really? So it's quite an episode and one that I'm super excited to be talking about. Today's sponsor, Phoenix Identity. If you're questioning your marriage and want a healthier way of identifying whether or not it just needs to be reignited or next steps or whatever it is, if you want some healthier communication, finding out your unique needs as a partner and what a relationship truly needs, go and check them out and set up a clarity session. They do work with couples as well as individuals. So go and check them out and see what happens. I'm going to hand it over to our guest speaker, Melissa McClain. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you, Melissa. Thank you for having me. My name is Melissa McClain, and I am excited to be here today. I am a divorce and dating coach, and I primarily work with women over 40. I help them heal from divorce, or actually help them process all the 5 stages of divorce. And that just means deciding that you want a divorce all the way to your next chapter, and then help you find the unconditional love that you deserve. And you can find me at melissamcclaincoaching.com everywhere.
Good. So you and I started today's episode, or decided on this episode, because should I get divorced is a question a lot of people ask themselves. Mm-hmm. I've been married 15 years. Have I asked myself that question? I'm not going to lie. Abso-freaking-lutely, I've asked myself that question. And I don't think very many people, especially in society today, haven't asked themselves that question at least once, right? Mm-hmm. Whether things can be really good or really ugly or really bad or really great all the time, there are times in every relationship where we start to question, is this really what I want? And I think that's when we're growing, when we're changing, maybe our partner is changing and growing, but that question comes up a lot. And it's almost like a stun gun goes off when you ask yourself that question. You're like, whoa, did I really just consider that? Like, what is going on? Should I feel bad? Is it, there's a lot of emotions associated with asking yourself that question.
Absolutely. And like you said, it's normal, especially as time goes on and we're ebbing and we're flowing and we're working all the time and we're raising children and we're not nurturing our marriage and our relationship like we did when we first got together. And it's important, it's important to breathe passion back into it. I'm a firm believer that you can absolutely turn around a relationship. You have to have 2 people that want to do it. You have to have 2 people that really want to level up and, and have a sexy sex life and breathe passion back into it and not think that the grass is greener.
Yeah. And you know what, sometimes it does end in divorce. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't have to be a really negative experience. There are people who, just uncouple, and that's okay. What ends up happening in my experience and what I see quite often, especially when you have kids, especially when you have a career, is you get married and you're in that honeymoon stage and you're so focused on each other, right? Like so focused on each other. And then life gets in the way and you forget to date. You forget to communicate. You forget to be anything other than roommates that are paying for a mortgage and raising kids. And you get to a point where you have that time, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe when your kids get older, they get in their teens or they become adults, or when your career is starting to slow down and you're thinking about retirement, where you sit there and you question, I don't know this person anymore. Mm-hmm. I don't know them. I feel like they don't know me. I'm not a priority to them. Are they a priority to me? Mm-hmm. And you really haven't put any effort or any investment into that relationship as the years have gone by, because you've got caught up with everything else. That's why, just like Melissa, I've got a program called Reignite the Spark. And it's because sometimes that's what it really takes, is just regaining that, oh, who are you? It's nice to meet you. And you can almost create that honeymoon phase again, where it's like you're getting to know each other, what feeds each other, maybe new hobbies that you guys want to pick up. Yeah,
absolutely. I think it's important to, well, first of all, there's a few things to unpack there. Being disconnected from your spouse for years, like I'll pick this up, I'll nurture this when the kids are out of the house, is detrimental. Like when years go by, things could happen. And, the reality is that sexless marriages is a silent epidemic. It's all over the place. It is very rampant. And when you're not connected with your spouse, that's when people can start to stray. So if you are someone in a marriage who maybe you're someone like, what, I could take it or leave it. I don't care if I ever have sex again. But your spouse wants to have sex. I mean, don't be surprised if he or she finds a lover on the side, and that other lover might be someone who's also in a sexless marriage. I mean, this happens all the time. So it's important to have an amazing communication. It's important to ask for what you want. As we enter midlife, our body changes, our testosterone changes, our estrogen changes, and our progesterone. And there's no reason why we need to suffer. I mean, I'm a firm believer in bioidentical hormones, which is a natural, safe way, but everyone should get their hormones checked. There's no reason why we shouldn't be having sex until forever, until you're 90.
Yeah, exactly. I've had that situation. So when my husband and I first got married, I was pregnant with our then 14-year-old now. And during that time, we were like animals. So I'm not TMI. I'm not going to get into that, but we had a very healthy sex life.
Great.
And then once I had my daughter, I went on the pill because, again, we have this very healthy sex life and I didn't want any more kids yet. They killed it. I wanted nothing to do with him. I wanted nothing to do with anything sexual. But then as soon as he was gone, it was like ramped up. And it was like this very closed off window, right? Where like 3 p.m, if you're not home and we're not doing it, then it's not going to happen. And I would brush him off. And there was, I communicated this and I couldn't understand why. So we went through a couple of years of this until I said, screw it. And I went off the pill. Hence we have an 8-year-old. But
I mean, take heed, everybody, because the pill is it's really unnatural. There's so many other things that you could be doing. You could do a non-hormonal IUD. You could do something like that without hormones, because these synthetic hormones do affect the body. So thank you for sharing that story.
Yeah. And then now, we've been married, like I said, 15 years. And I know that I've come up to him and I've said, like now I have a very healthy appetite again. Not all the time, but I'm the type of person, we talk about love languages, right? And love languages are huge in relationships. And my love language is physical intimacy. That's my love language. His is gifts of service. He will make sure my cars are good. He will make sure the dishes are done and the garbage is taken out and the laundry, like he is gifts of service, right? And I'm physical intimacy. And so I've had to have that communication with him and go, and I'm going to, for everybody watching, I'd like you to listen to this part because this is really one of those keys to communication. I don't want to have to tell him that I need sex and then feel like he's pity sexing me. Okay. So that is a huge issue that I found in communicating my needs, was that I don't want to tell you because then I feel like you're just doing it out of pity. Like I want you to want it. Like, right. And we had this conversation and that conversation changed things for me. So now if I'm feeling, not only that, I am with that when I feel loved and I feel full and I feel good, my whole demeanor changes. So when I'm feeling a little bit neglected or I'm feeling like I'm not getting that physical intimacy that I'm craving, I will say, hey, I'm feeling a little bit left out here. Whenever you're kind of like in the mood, let's just talk about it or, get something done or whatever. Right. So I've had to learn how to communicate that. Right. And in passing, not just lying in bed where I'm going to feel rejected if he doesn't or pitied if he does. it has to be, on mutual terms. When, we're going throughout our day, if he's at work and I say, hey, I'm feeling kind of neglected, can we snuggle? Or can we, just cuddle and watch a movie or whatever, right? Netflix and chill, whatever, whatever. But having that communication and being able to openly say that and take out all of those insecurities, right? And be like, I need this.
It's so important, everybody. Our lovers are not mind readers.
Mm-hmm.
And we all ebb and flow. So you could be with a partner who maybe his testosterone is a little low, right? And he needs to get his hormones checked out. I mean, I've definitely experienced that. I made a few notes here. So what I do in this house, I mean, I love sex. So listen, I think it's wonderful. I love sex. I love having orgasms. So what I do with Michael is I'll put meeting notices on his calendar, and I'll just do like private notices. And I'm like, meet me in the bedroom at 2. Or I just wake up and I walk up to him and I give him a 20-second hug. I always say like, hug me. And then I'll be like, when are we going to have sex today? Just like with a big smile. And it doesn't always, I don't unfortunately have sex every single day, but it's telling him like what you like. It's like, I love it when you suck my clitoris. I love it. And I do.
You tease me throughout the day, right?
Yeah. It's just like little things. I'll send him text messages. I send him meeting notices, and it makes him giggle, and it's fun. And it's something between the two of you.
It's like dating, right?
Yeah.
And so that's one of the keys I think we're trying to express throughout the sex talk now, is that communication is key, whether it is sexual, whether it is, what you need done, whether it is, maybe you're feeling dejected, or maybe you're feeling disrespected about something. Maybe you're not feeling like you are a priority. They don't know that. Right. So whether you're a man or a woman, your partner does not always automatically know what you need when you need it. You have to communicate these things. And this isn't just romantic relationships. This is every relationship. You cannot get mad at, I'm going to repeat that. You cannot get mad at somebody for doing something that you do not like, or not doing something that you like, if you haven't said anything to begin with.
Yeah.
Right? You can't. So a lot of time, that miscommunication, that anger that happens, maybe right before you get to the should I get divorced question, you're feeling all this angst and anxiety and this irritation because they're not doing something, or maybe they are doing something that's irritating you. Have you said anything about it? And have you actually explained it, instead of just flying off the handle and go, don't do that anymore? Turn around and say, hey, I'm going to use my own. You using the word useless in any relationship to me will throw me off the handle faster than you can blink. Please do not use that word in relation to me whatsoever. I might not be doing something that you want me to do, but that does not make me useless. Yeah. And I've had that conversation, right? And it was a communicable conversation. And his response was, I really didn't know it bothered you that much.
Yes.
Right?
Here's a really, go ahead.
No, absolutely. Go ahead. That was life-changing.
Yes, it's so important. I was going to give everyone just a healthy way of connecting, attaching to other people. And that was a really good example. Like if you're having a conversation with anyone, it could be your lover, it could be a friend, and listening to your intuition. And all of a sudden someone says something and you're like, instead of assuming what you heard and making an assumption and then thinking in your brain, like now it's a new story. It could be anything. I don't like this person. This person doesn't make me feel good. I don't feel safe here. What an asshole. I'm never talking to this person again. Stop the conversation and just say, hey, Melissa, I really like you. And you just said this to me. And this is how it made me feel. Was that your intention?
Yes, absolutely.
Was it your intention? And then they can say, yeah. Or they'd be like, no, just like your husband. No, I had no idea. So we have to really, it's so easy for us to create stories and, people don't really step it up. Ask people if the meaning of their words. did they mean it the way it hit you? Especially if it makes you feel sad, angry, like anything,
Mm-hmm.
a negative feeling.
We don't do that enough. That's part of healthy communication, right?
Yes.
I want anybody watching or catching the replay, I want you to think back to a situation where you said something to somebody else and they took it completely the wrong way. And then you had to backtrack and defend what you said, or maybe you lost a friend or you lost a partner because they assumed that what you said was intentionally meant to hurt them. That happens all the time. We have to avoid that and go, whoa, okay. Well, before I react emotionally, how about we just stop for a second and go, oh, that hit me bad. Like where did that come from, a bad place? Or
this is like adult stuff. This is like an adult, mature, this is not your younger self, your inner child, like running around, right? That's the person that's afraid to ask, because they're afraid they might get hurt. They're afraid to actually hear the truth, maybe. You know, so we want to get clear on that. And we always want people to show up authentically. And we want to know, you want to know the truth, even if it's not what you want to hear. Don't you want to know the truth so you can move on? Like if you need to 86 somebody from your life, if we just need to clean house, which we need to do sometimes, and it's not even just with a lover, it could be with girlfriends, it could be whatever. Just moving people along and wishing them love. And it doesn't have to be this big conversation like, hey, Melissa, I don't want to be friends with you anymore. Okay. It's just, you don't really hang out anymore. And then if I see you, it's like, hey, how are you? And that's it. It's not being fake. It's just, you don't have time. Like you need to fill your life and surround yourself with people who love you, who lift you up, who you can be your authentic self. Yeah.
Has anybody, and I've done this recently, has anybody left a relationship, maybe a long-term friendship or a long-term relationship where, you know, yeah, you've been hurt. Yeah, there's been some angst and irritation. But when you leave that relationship, you're not doing it because you're angry. You're not doing it because you're hurt. You're doing it for your best interest. You're doing it because that's what you need to be happy, right? So when you're in a romantic relationship and you're thinking, should I get divorced? You know, there's a lot of stages to that question. There is, okay, do I just need to reignite the spark in my sex life? Do I need to bring in communication? Do we need to start dating again? Do we need to figure out who we are now as individuals and as a couple? Do we need to go to counseling because there's things that are pissing me off that I can't get over and I need to figure it out? Like what part of that situation? But then there also comes a part where, you know, maybe it is best to separate. But that doesn't have to be a very angry process.
Right.
Right. It can be, we just aren't fitting anymore. And no matter what we've tried, no matter what we've decided, we need to do what's going to make us both happy. And maybe that is getting separated. Maybe that is getting divorced. Maybe that is getting perspective and saying, hey, you know, but still keeping that conversation open.
I mean, sometimes just getting separated and just living like that. I mean, everyone's got to work on themselves. It's like, how are you contributing to this relationship? And if you haven't been communicating for a long time, that could be years of just holding things in, you know, and whatnot. But you can always rekindle, you know, but we can also consciously uncouple with love. And just to do it with love, especially if you have children. And so if we're getting over there where you're like, we've done everything, we've worked on everything, we have decided we are not for each other. You know, if you're gonna complete a relationship, I mean, the kids have to be number one, you know, in the way you communicate. You hating each other and all that goes with that, it's not hurting you two, really. It's hurting your children.
And you can't have hate without love.
You can't what?
You can't have hate without love.
Right.
right? And a lot of people may ask me, how is that even possible, right? How can you hate somebody, or how can you not hate something? So let's go wholehearted worst case scenario, right? Let's say, and I'm not talking relationship wise, I'm talking animal abuse. You can hate animal abuse. But why do you hate it? Because you love animals.
Right.
Right? There is always love in hate. And remembering that when you're in a relationship, and it has come to that question of, should I get divorced? That there is love in that hate. Do you love your children enough to learn? Do you love yourself enough to let go of the hate? Did you love that person enough? While you may not be in love with them, you did love them at one point or another. How can you get back to that and go, this just needs to change? Right? One of the things that I wanted to mention, we did an episode last season on a partnering. And it was, two people who are married living in separate houses and have a happy, healthy marriage, but live apart. And that is another option for many people, is having two separate, and it's basically like you're always dating, right? You're married, but you're always dating.
There are so many ways to have a relationship, and society says you have to be married, and it's just a man and a woman, and, all the things. But guess what? And it's monogamous. You two could decide that you want to open up your relationship. Maybe you want to have a polyamorous relationship. Maybe you want to live separately. Divorce is a really huge thing, and it can be extremely expensive. So there's a lot of people who stay married for these reasons. So has your relationship evolved to a place? But at the end of the day, we all have to be talking about it. It's like, make a list. Like, if you're actually having this conversation, be like, you make a list of all of your desires. Like, what do you deeply desire in a relationship, in this marriage, all the things, and let your partner do that. And then kind of come together and look at each other and share and look for commonality. I'd love to share if anyone is thinking of a divorce, the big thing out there is education, because divorce attorneys are not the only way to get a divorce. There's a documentary on YouTube. It's called Divorce Corp, CORP. It's $3.99, and it's the bomb. And it tells you how broken our family law system is here in the US. And it'll just educate you. So just educate yourself on what a mediator might be. Educate yourself on maybe having a coach, a relationship coach, a divorce coach. It's a big deal. It's easy to get married. It's very hard to get a divorce. Yeah.
We did another episode last year with a lady who specializes in helping women who are separating or divorcing that have special needs children, and what that entails, because that's another whole ballgame of issues right there. I think one of the biggest things is, no matter the relationship, when you question a relationship, you need to question whether or not working through it is worth it for you, whether or not that's an option, whether or not you need to rekindle, whether you need to start dating, whether you go through the steps of actually trying what you want to try. Obviously, if you're in a situation where you are being, abused, then do what you need to do to get out. If, you or your children are being abused, or and that goes both ways. That's not just male or female. That's both ways. It's, not one against the other. We do know that, women can be abusive as well. Yeah. There's a lot to unpack. And I think that don't ever just give up, because relationships have become disposable, discardable in the last few years, or even in the last 20 years, 30 years. they have become disposable, where, oh, it's easy, we'll just get a divorce. We'll get married and get divorced 20 days later. Or and they're sensationalized, right? Look at how many high profile individuals get married and then divorced so quickly. And I'm not saying you have to stay together. Absolutely not. I would never be the person to tell you stay together just for the sake of the children or anything else. You need to do what's going to make you happy, but put the effort in to try.
Yeah. Did you give it 1,000%?
Mm-hmm.
If you complete that relationship, can you say, I gave this relationship 1,000%? We both did. And it just didn't work. And it's okay. Like, what if you were only supposed to spend 10 years together, or 20 years together, or 40 years together? You know, it's so outdated to say that you have to be together till death do us part. It's very common to have serial monogamous relationships. You know, it doesn't mean you're marrying everybody. And guess what? You don't even have to be married. Some people just have serial long-term relationships. It's okay. Like, whatever works for you.
Yep, exactly. And I love that you said that, because that is, you have to do what works for you, no matter what that looks like, no matter what society says, as long as you are not hurting anybody else, right? Yeah. That's I think where people go wrong is, if you are intentionally hurting somebody else by your actions, then that's wrong. Yeah. Absolutely, that's wrong. But know who you are. Every relationship has three parts. It has you, your partner, and the relationship itself. Mm-hmm. And it's like having a bank account, right? The relationship is a joint account, and then you each have your individual accounts. You both need something different.
Yeah.
Right? It's the relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of shame and guilt that goes along with any type of breakup. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't have to be that way, because it doesn't have to. We can consciously complete relationships with love.
Yep. And knowing that it's a process of mourning.
Yes.
No matter how good or how much love you throw into divorcing, or to, going your separate ways with love, there is still a period of mourning.
Totally. Grief and loss. It's like an amputation, even if because it's the death of a dream. It's the dream, the life that you two shared, and the family unit, or everything that encompasses. It's a big deal. I mean, it's so easy to say, I'm going to get a divorce. It's a huge deal when you do. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The companionship, the comfort, the security, the stability, and you might be saying that you don't have many of those things in the marriage, but when they're gone, the old adage comes back into play. You don't know what you've got till it's gone. That happens quite frequently. And not to say that that's a guilt thing or a shame thing. It does happen. And you do have to mourn that when you realize it. And kind of, kick yourself and go, oh, I never thought of that. That's why I think Melissa and I are saying, ask for help, get help, right? Make sure that you've done that 1,000%. Figure out whether you're having those conversations, whether you're saying, you're doing this and it's really hurting my feelings, or I don't feel like a priority to you, or, how can we work together to relearn who we are and where we're at this stage, because we're always learning, we're always growing, we're always becoming different versions of ourselves. Let's do it together.
And I would say also, especially when your relationship isn't going well, like, let's say if you said to someone, I just don't feel like I'm a priority. And he's like, well, you're not. Right. So if someone is basically showing you over and over, and he's telling you you're not, he or she, I mean, reach out, hire a coach. Like, your self-esteem is in the shitter. Like, for you to, we have to breathe self-esteem and self-worth and self-love back into yourself, so you can take care of yourself. Mm-hmm. And put yourself, because why should you settle? We shouldn't just settle in life, and as we get into midlife, we get to choose. I mean, midlife is not a time to settle. There's a billion people out there. So can you find love after divorce? Absolutely. There's more than 4 billion people on this planet. But the first thing you have to do is take the time to heal, to process the grief and loss from this relationship, to get clear on what you desire, to get clear on what you bring to the table as a partner. Like, what do you bring to the table? What do you love about yourself? Like making a list of, and all the hell knows, so you can spot the red flags. But there is absolutely, if anyone's thinking no one's ever going to love me again, that's bullshit. There's too many, there's billions of people on this planet, and we have more than one soulmate love. Okay. There will always be a next, but you have to do all of that. You have to heal so you can up level, so you don't attract the same thing that you attracted.
Yep. And if you are attracting the same thing, then there is a cyclical pattern that's going on. You haven't learned a lesson. There is always a lesson to be learned about how we're stronger, smarter, all of it, right? And how to self-love, because we should and always should be our own number one priority. Nobody will make you a priority better than you make yourself a priority. That should be a goal for globally. You need to make yourself your number one priority.
No one can love you more than you love yourself.
Yep.
It's literally impossible.
Yeah. And from the day you're born till the day you die, you're the only constant.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know. How many boyfriends did you have in high school? How many girlfriends did you have in college? Right? Like, you're the only constant. Day one to day none, you're number one. So make yourself that priority. All right. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we get going?
No, thank you so much for having me today. Again, everyone can find me at melissamcclaincoaching.com. I help people from, if you're deciding to get a divorce, to the breakup, to the healing, to finding love happily ever after.
Absolutely. All right. Like Melissa said, if you would like to reach out to either her or myself, you can do so. Our links are in the description of this episode. Go and check out A Phoenix Identity. They do group, individual, and couples coaching, as well as they have a couple programs that you may be interested in, Reignite the Spark being one of them, and Creating Space for Love. So go and look at those. Book a clarity session, all of that fun stuff. All right. If you would like to be a guest speaker, blogger, sponsor, or if you would like to see a topic featured on the show, please reach out to us at justalivetv.com. I'm your host, Melissa Krechler. Thank you so much, Melissa, for joining me today. I really appreciated your time.
Loved spending time with you. Bye.
All right. Bye.